Now that we have covered strategy, we've covered execution, and we've covered fit, we can progress to one of my favorite areas of this topic, which is the strategy execution gap. As we said before, so many people focus on how to build a strategy, the importance of strategy, and yes, that is critical. But if you ignore the rest, especially making that strategy happen and executing it, and wondering what happens a lot of time in the middle between strategy and execution, well then you're really not setting yourself up for success. So to be primed and ready to face the challenges we face, you have to understand the strategy execution gap and what you, your team, and your organization's leaders must do to make sure it stays filled now, tomorrow, and in the future. So let's start off with a quote. This one's from David Hussey in a book he had written in 1996. I came across as part of my research on strategy execution. And he recognized a lot of the same problems, and he had the same conclusions that we're talking about here today. But for whatever reason, not too many people listen to him, and we still are trying to understand how to solve the strategy execution problem and close this gap. So let me read the quote, and then we'll discuss it. No implementation can save a strategy, and no strategy can save an implementation, probably neither of which were sound to begin with. A failure to think through the strategy makes it impossible to implement, except by chance. So really powerful words here to capture exactly everything that we've been talking about and thinking and working our way through. You need to be successful and competent on both ends of the spectrum to close the strategy execution gap. So now we're going to head into some more details to explain what the strategy execution gap is. If you've worked in an organization, you're familiar with the way strategy typically works. At the top you have strategy, the executives come up with it, they give it to the directors, who give it to managers, who give it to supervisors, who give it to employees. And in that mess, and in that mismatch, there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of unclarity. So this is where the problem starts. If you ever played the game Whisper Down the Lane, where you pass the message from one person to the next in a circle, but the time the message gets back to the original person who sent it, it's completely different. The same concept, the same with strategy execution. So we have, at the top, we have leaders and we have employees. So let's start by discussing the leaders. So the leaders are people, just like you and I, who have a lot of experience and who are really trying their best to help the organization. They have lots of experience working their way up the ranks in the organization and in the industry. And then just like you and just like I, they're frustrated because they have incomplete information. You know, they see that things just aren't quite right, but they're trying to make the best decision possible. So they're trying, but they're stuck. They feel like they don't have the support they need from all the people in the organization. One person can't pull an entire organization from bankruptcy to high profitability. You need a team of people to do that. Like yourself and me, executives have seen strategy execution failures for years, and that's why they're a bit hesitant to adopt a new way of thinking about the process. They've likely found some sort of approach that works for the organization or seems to work, or at least isn't broken yet. But for an organization to thrive in the long term, they need to embrace strategy execution principles, especially in the way that we've talked about them. So executives, they feel like they've been down this road before, they feel disappointed, they're trying, they're working hard, but these people are more prominent because when they mess up and a company goes bankrupt, you see their face on the news. Now let's talk about how employees perceive strategy execution and the gap that follows. Employees are the people who fill the companies and do the work. You have people all the way from line workers, supervisors, managers, and directors who come into this group, and these are the people who are responsible for getting things done, not deciding on the strategy. And like yourself, and like the executives, they're also a bit frustrated because they've been in the organization for years and they've seen strategies come and go, and probably right now they don't even know what the current strategy is. So employees are feeling frustrated, a bit disenchanted, and they're tired of not knowing what the organization's doing or how they can succeed or go out of their way to help the organization and improve their careers. They're looking for information, they want to do their best, but they just don't have the guidance, the support, the system, and the communication to get there. So on both ends, we have good people who really want to improve the system, help the organizations, but they feel like they're all alone. So what we're going to need to do is identify what is in this gap and what do both these sets of people need so that they can work together, so we can stop seeing so many failed strategies and disappointing careers.